Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? So as you know, throughout September I'm doing these how-to videos where I'm just sharing tips, and these are just topics that lots of people are dealing with, and this is one that I've made quite a lot of videos about this on my YouTube channel, Marianne Hanson Counselling Service. It's something I've been through myself, and so I'm just going to give you 4 quick tips for grieving the loss of a loved one. So grief is a part of life because death is a part of life. That we're not going to get through life without losing people close to us. Now, for many people, the thought or the idea of losing someone close to them just brings them, makes them quite emotional, which is natural because, life is about forming attachments, connections, and people that are very close to us, like our parents, our children, our friends. Obviously, we're going to miss them when they're not here. So when it happens, so there's different types of loss as well, and I think that plays into it, and I'll make a video or a series of different types of loss, because I do think that you grieve in different ways. It's still the loss. Say if someone is ill, terminally ill, you may have time to say goodbye to that person, but you're still going to miss them when they go. But say if it's through suicide, which I've been, one of my sisters ended her life. You don't have time. It's like the questions that are associated with that. And then with my dad, who died based on, we didn't even know like the real reasons, but he just went back to Ghana, got ill because of his age. So that's another thing. When someone is a particular age, your brain starts to accept the fact that they're getting older. You see that their mobility is different. You see that they're getting older. Your brain kind of connects the fact that, I don't know how long this person has got left. You still grieve, but I think, if someone is elderly, there's like a difference of like acceptance that they're coming towards the end of their life. So regardless of the situation, grief is a very powerful emotion, and it can do all sorts of things to you. Even I didn't realize how powerful grief was until it hit me, especially with my sister. It's things like, no matter what food people are putting in front of you, you just can't eat. I couldn't eat properly, I'd say, for a good 6 months. I don't know how I survived, but I didn't have I just couldn't. And my appetite, everyone knows me, I'm always eating. I'm always thinking about what I'm going to eat next. I eat like many times a day. I just couldn't eat. Another thing was concentration. I could not drive. I tried driving a few times, and it felt like I was in a fog. It felt like I was lost. So because of the dangerous nature of like my brain wasn't focusing on where I was going and what I was doing, I decided I wasn't going to drive for a little while until, I was in a different stage of grief. So it's also about the stages you go through. So the first thing is to take your time. Lots of people are in a hurry to move past the grieving process. When I worked on the EAP lines, the Employee Assistance Program, people were phoning in and saying, I don't want to feel this way, or I want to get back to work, or I want to get past the grief. And that's why, I'm not a grief counsellor, but I've worked with children who have had a loss of a parent. I've worked with people who are grieving, and it's a tricky area to work with, because with something like someone wanting to lose weight or someone wanting to gain self-esteem, there's strategies, there are things, and the person can see the progress. With grief counselling, you can't actually change anything about the situation. That person is never coming back, and that is really what is causing the pain. So what you really are working on is ways that person can accept the loss, ways that person can move forward with their life. And that's some of the things really, is ways to connect with the person. When my dad died, I went to Ghana, and I've got this bag. I bought this in Ghana in 2011. And every time I carry it, it reminds me of my dad, because obviously the patterns, the connection with my dad on that level. Every time I listen to Afrobeat, sometimes I'll think of my dad because of Ghanaian heritage. Every time there are opportunities to connect with my dad in different ways, even though he's not here. I still feel when I do something, he might be proud of me for this, or my dad would have said this, or my dad would have enjoyed Ghana playing football because that's what we used to watch together. So there's ways still to connect with the person who's no longer here. The next thing is, you don't have to manage the loss. It's not about saying, I'm going to manage this, I'm going to do A, B, and C, and then I'll be okay. That's not how grief works. As I said, grief is powerful. It can affect your mind, it can affect you emotionally, physically. So don't try to manage it, just work through it. Just accept that it's going to take time, that you're not going to feel your best, that it will take as long as it takes. You know, I had to take 6 to 7 months off work when I was a social worker and a counsellor when my sister died, because I knew that I was just a mess. I wasn't going to be able to do anything at all. That has been the biggest loss and also the worst I've ever felt in my whole entire life, because it's just, there's nothing anyone can say or prepare you or do. Just when someone like kills themselves, it's like you're filled with emotions of, could you have done something differently? Could you replay all of your conversations with that person. You start to question, well, were they really happy because the week before they were laughing and joking? Well, did someone else fail them? You know, did you fail them? You start replaying, could you, all sorts of things. I mean, I won't go over it again. I've made so many videos about this, but even talking about it is, you know, it's difficult, it's a loss. Now, the fourth and final thing is you have to recognize things will never be the same. Sometimes I will still say, oh, I've got 8 siblings, but then I think, well, my sister isn't here anymore. So, and then you don't want to share it. You don't want to always talk about the loss as well. And you don't have to say to people, you know, when people ask that question, how did that person die? And you don't want to have to keep talking about it. It's their story. You know, it's their life. I don't want like people to, sometimes like I'll just say, yeah, I've got 8 siblings, or there's 9 of us. I'll just say it's easier, you know, even though my sister is not here anymore. It's recognizing things won't be the same. Sometimes I'll think sometimes I'll be thinking in 2018 or 19, prior to my sister dying, things were different. And then I'll think post my sister dying, I don't think and feel the same way as I did before that happened. Same as with my dad, like a little part of you lose a part of you, but life goes on as well. You know, when I'm doing something, if I go to a particular park that I used to go to with my sister, I'll say, I remember when we walked around here. If I go to a particular place where I used to go with my dad, I'll say, yeah, I remember my dad used to like it here. Life goes on. You have to live for you, but it is a very tough process, but treat it as a process. Call it the grieving process. Call it your grieving journey, your grief journey. You know, but yeah, that's all you can really do. So I hope you found these tips useful. If you have, thanks for tuning into these how-to videos, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.